Well, joining us for more on that is Kari Fulton. She's an environmental justice advocate here in Washington, D.C. Kari, thanks for joining us. First, what role, if any, do you think climate change is playing in what we've just seen in Texas?
I think it's playing a major role. First and foremost, thank you for having me. But I think it's playing a major role, and it's also playing a major role in how we're not prepared for what is possible with a changing climate. And we're seeing that right in full effect, right in front of our eyes.
So climate justice advocates like yourself often note that there is disproportional effects of storms like this, climate change, on different segments of the population. Are we seeing that play out in Texas as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're seeing that. You're seeing that with immigrant communities. You're seeing that with impoverished communities. You're seeing that with communities who are rural, who may not have access to certain things. You're seeing that with everyday people right now. And those who can get out are getting out, as you're seeing with Ted Cruz and his lovely Cancun vacation. And those who can't are suffering, and that's not fair.
What immediate changes do you think need to happen to address this? We saw a similar storm in Texas a decade ago that did a lot of damage to the grid as a result of unpreparedness, and we've talked about some of the, on this channel, about some of the grid changes, the energy changes that need to be done. But what about in terms of the causes that you advocate for?
Well, I think one thing that is important is that we need federal legislation that is ready to talk about adaptation to climate change. We have to deal with infrastructure. Repairs are necessary. We need to build our country and get it ready for the future. And we're not doing that on a national scale. And we can't wait on states to take up that cause, because every state is going to be different, and every state is not going to push in the way that we need to go so that we can move forward as a nation, especially for those who are most impacted and most vulnerable.
So there's a lot of attention now on Texas here in the U.S., but are these global phenomena?
Of course, it's a global phenomenon. We all live on this earth, right? So we're all dealing with extreme weather temperatures. We're all dealing with what it looks like when everything goes haywire. And I don't know if we're all ready for that. Some countries are bearing better than others. And it's a time to see what will happen for the rest of the future. And this next 10 years is really going to tell us a lot.
You're here in Washington. I know you're involved in policy advocacy. What are the groups that you're involved with doing that may have changed as a result of Texas, or perhaps gotten more momentum?
Well, I know that a lot of the organizations here in the United States are moving around so that we can push for federal legislation, so that we can push for real solutions. You have Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez who have pushed a Climate Emergency Act, which is really important so that we can really put the focus in on solving and addressing our climate change issue that we're dealing with as a national emergency, and putting those resources and putting the infrastructure needed towards that. You also have people who are thinking of the overarching conversation of what does it look like to bring in a Green New Deal? What does it mean to thrive? What does it even mean to breathe? And that's so interesting that those are some of the names of some of the bills that have been introduced or will be introduced coming up in this new congressional legislation. But the biggest part that's important, and this is what a lot of groups have been pushing on, is that we don't have to wait on Congress. There's a lot of executive action that can happen, and there is a lot that's already happening. And you're seeing it with the Biden administration coming in and saying, hey, what can we do? What can we do through executive orders? And what can we make push as fast as possible? So I'm happy to see that.
Kari Fulton, thank you so much for your insight and for joining us.
Thank you.